Hello everyone, today we're going to install this Digitrax decoder. So that is for a Kato 484 FEF3. Now I mistakenly ordered two of these, installed the other one last year, but I couldn't return it because the guy did his job. I felt bad. The only solution I found was to buy another FEF3. That is the only way that problem can be solved. And it happens to be the Greyhound machine, which is really cool. So double cool, we have the really cool engine and we have the really cool decoder. This box, although it's not super easy to open, I kind of like it. It really protects the engine well, and also it's a big box, so it makes the engine look special. And that it is. That is one special engine. Now, it doesn't say on the instructions, but I think it says on the box. It says it somewhere. You need a special type of radius to run this. Here we go. So you go out to your hobby shop or online and you buy this and you're all happy. Yeah, I got my FEF3. Perfect. They tell you in the instruction about the minimum radius. There you go. 11-inch minimum radius, which my layout was built for this on purpose, so I could run these. But I wish they would tell you on the box. All they say on the box is this engine's really cool, buy it. Anyways, I'm telling you now, if you're considering one of these, it will require the 11-inch minimum radius. So that's really good to know. I mean, it doesn't make sense to buy a nice engine like that just to display it and not run it. If you want to just display an engine, buy a Bachmann. I like to run these. So yeah, I kind of like this box. It really protects the engine, makes it look special. I think it's pretty special. So this is brand new. They send you an extra coupler if you want to double head them. I don't know if you would really double head them because it's a good puller. And these have the new CAN motor. I'm not going to completely disassemble it, just barely enough to get the decoder in. Look at that paint job. Just like it was brand new. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to detach the tender. And that will just make it easier for me to handle the locomotive. You know, I don't have a good engine cradle. And I should maybe get on that. Because I do work on a lot of engines. So I'm going to remove the tender. I removed this back truck. You wouldn't really need to. It just helps me to look at what I'm doing. So here I pry with my finger. That makes a leverage effect. So I can pull on the drawbar and it just comes out. We'll be getting to the tender just a little bit later. Beautiful. So to install the Digitrax chip, you need to remove first the cab. And that's super easy, barely an inconvenience. You just lift up on it and it just wants to come. Just like that. I showed this in the other video. You have the option to remove the windows or keep them. If you've ever been in a cab, steam engine cab, it's super hot in there. Just walking by the engine, you feel hot. And then we're going to remove the shell. There's just one screw here. Now I may have to come back and make some holes for my wiring. We'll do that just one step at a time. First step is the removal of that, and then you can lift this up. Also, we're still in the easy part. I just wanted to show you my favorite thing with this engine. All the drivers can move a little bit, so that helps. They won't bind. The real steam engines are made like that. And also there's a suspension. There's a fulcrum in there, allows your wheels to move freely, and that, my friends, helps you stick to the track. But minimum 11 inches curve radius. But this is so cool. I've never seen another engine that had that in N scale. There must be a bunch in HO scale. Alright, there's a little retainer here. This retainer holds the two contacts for the motor down. I might come in and use my little screwdriver. Maybe not, won't need to. So you do not want to lose this. And then we can loosen up the two little contacts. These should just be also pretty easy to move. I'm not pushing very hard on this. I'm gonna work on it off camera just so I can focus. So they have a good grip on the circuit board, which that's very good. You don't want these to let go while you're driving or running the trains. So that's good. And then we can just pull this back. Back and up. Should be pretty easy. Here we go. Your DC circuit board. I'm definitely keeping that. I keep them in the box. Put them in the box for who knows when I may need them. There's your motor. This little plastic strip, it takes electricity down to the light for the front. And the last one I did, I had to shorten it just a tad. So there we go, this assembly is done. We can start putting in our decoder. Alright, so the decoder comes with instructions. You definitely want to keep the instructions. For a long time I would also keep the packaging. I don't think it's necessary to do that. But you can if you want to, but definitely I'm keeping the instructions. I'll show you why. It's always nice to have these handy. Here's my instructions, and here's my decoder. Protected from static electricity, that's always good. So the instructions, it's good to have this stuff handy. Keep it in mind anyway. I like to have the list of CVs and functions, and I keep these next to my my cab, my NC power cab, so if I forget something, I have it handy. I can reprogram it to where I'm happy. Alright, so I have a lot of stuff on my table now. I'm keeping that if I need an engine cradle. Then here's our new decoder. Ron Strains just made a video a couple of weeks ago on how he's getting rid of a bunch of the sound decoders like that. So I'll put a link in the description if you want to watch that. It's kind of a cool video. So obviously you have to put the two tabs that go to the motor. So let me just slide that in. The other time I did that, I had that exact problem before, I would slide that in and it's loose a little bit and it didn't make contact and it read cannot read CV on my cab, so the locomotive wasn't going anywhere. So this is too loose. So how I solved that, I put a little piece of cardboard under it. So let me go ahead and do that. And scale is very small, so with just a little piece of cardboard you can go a long way. So that's about the size that I need. And that should be enough. And now if I slide that in, it will lock me in place and it will allow me to make contact. Easy does it. That even may be too big. Well, now it's going to make really good contact. Faux show, faux show. Also, don't forget this capacitor. If your locomotive runs out of power, it'll power the motor. That's what it's there for. You don't have to restart the engine at 0. There's a little space for it there. So the wire shouldn't be too much in the way there. So I'm gonna install my decoder, keeping in mind the capacitor. I'm taking my time. I saw a super good video the other day about model cars, but a lot of it still applies to model railroading. And the guy says, you know, it's a hobby, so take your time. Oh, that looks good. So I just have to manage this wire here. I need it to be out of the way. And now I can put my 2 contacts for the motor. I'm going to put the contacts for the motor first. So that you need that to run 100%. So I'm going to see if I put a link to the description, link in the description for that video. He's using, shows you how to make spark plug wires for his model cars, but a lot of the materials he uses can be used for model railroading as well. Don't forget there's a retainer clip that goes over this. It may run without it, but it may not. At any rate, 100% you want to keep this. Oh, that looks good now. So I'm going to try and put these 2 wires so they're out of the way. Shove them in there. There's a little bit of space in there for that. So everything looks good now. This is my speaker that's going to go in the tender. So now I'm going to go on the track just to make sure I've got everything done properly and everything works. So I did select loco and 3 and enter. And let's see what happens. So alright, nothing. I'm gonna go on the program track now. Do you guys want to see me do some programming? I don't know if that's interesting. So I go program on the main, no. Set up system clock, use program track, enter. So I want to go 1 standard. This will tell me if I did the if my power cab is making contact with the circuit board. So obviously no. So I've got to restart and see why it's not making contact. So what I did, I just wiggled the circuit board just a little bit, and that ended up working. So 1, see, it found the decoder, so I'm good. Enter, enter, set up short address, yes, short address 003. I guess you don't have to do that, it's just a convention. And then long address, yes, 8444, enter. Activate this address, yes. And that's it, we're done. We can go back and program numbers later. Oh yeah, we're up and running. Sweet. So headlight. There's the bell. Then let's see if it's chuffing. Alright, lost contact there again. Wow, that's not good. I found a gondola so it could, so my speaker doesn't have to drag. It's starting to sound better now. Yes, everything seems to be working decent. So alright, I can put the body shell back on. Alright, so here's the next challenge. I have to put the shell back on, and there isn't really a lot of room for speakers. This is a story that happened to me. I just want to warn you guys. This little spring here, it can, if you take the front truck off, it can pop out, and you kind of need it to run the engine. And I looked for that thing for hours and hours and hours, and I wasn't happy. So yeah, so the shell, see, it just sits up on here, and there isn't really a lot of room. Even if you were to force it, it just keeps sitting high. Well, actually, that is not too bad, actually. I'm gonna see if that's gonna work. If that works, I'll be happy. It's not so horrible, but it's like a little millimeter too high. I don't know if you can see how the top of the shell came in here and crushed the wire. So that's what I mean. and it still goes up just a tiny little bit. It's still annoying a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in and grind some of this down with my Dremel. This little pin, I don't think it does too much, but be careful. This pin here, it holds the cab into place. So I'd like to keep it if I can. Also, these two black pins here go to a part of the shell that comes out. There's no glue on these, you can just pull it out. And I also like, if I can, I will make these just a little bit lower. I'll just grind them down just a little bit on the top. That way they won't go into the shell as much. They have to be very light, but it can be done. The Dremel makes a lot of dust, so I have to wash this every time before I come in and test fit it. So it's going to be a little game like that of grinding and then test fitting again. Okay, so I put some electrical tape down just to hold my wire exactly where I want it. And then here before the screw, they're just going to split like that. That should be perfect. And I'll show you what I did to the shell. I made a corresponding low area so that my wires can come in and go here and here. So that allows me, so I can come in and the shell will go back to its original position. And then don't put your Dremel away too quick. This light shield there is still a little bit too long. It's sorry, not a light shield, it's a optical strand. It's still a little bit too long and it sits on top here. So I have to shorten it just a little bit, maybe like so. And that will allow it to get out of the way. Basically this little pin here, you should bring it down to the pin. You want to keep the pin because it'll put it in its place. Now it sits exactly where it was meant to be. Before I put the cab back on, I want to bring my little screw. Oh, look at that, the speaker caught it. So bring in that little screw. Hey, we all have days like that. I drop stuff too, like the rest of you. That's how I found out about that spring. I dropped it on the floor. It took hours to find it. I'm going to try not to drop this to the floor, because they are small parts. Oh yeah, now that looks real good. Perfect. And then I can bring in the cab. Let's see how that sits. That's very good. And then we can work on the tender. As you can see, the way the speaker lays there, it's the right size for the tender. So I am going to use my engine cradle here. That's going to come in handy. And I'm going to take the tender apart. So this tender is brilliant. I wish they would offer just a tender. That would be great. I could use it for other engines. So you just pry on the side there, and you pull the truck, and it just comes right out. There's plenty of room for your wires over here. That gives you plenty of room. So if you look upside down, this there's enough room for the wire over here on the side, and that's it. You could probably glue it down. It comes with the adhesive tape provided, but I don't think I even need to do that. I can just run my wires down there, put the bottom of the tender, and that will hold it in place, and everything will be easy. And now I can reattach the tender to the engine. Basically goes back exactly where I found it. And I could put a little trailing truck. And that's it. And now it's time to run some trains. My other Digitrax locomotives are like that. When I let them idle, they simply shut off. And then to restart them, you just hit the headlights or the throttle. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly had fun making it for you. See you soon.